You can beat Cuphead in a day. It might take others a weekend or more to finish it, but you can beat it in one day. And I'm not talking about taking shortcuts through it or speedrunning it using exploits. I'm referring to the completion of every single piece of content in the game. And you know what? That's totally fine. I, for one, love short games given that I have the attention span of a pear, but I wouldn't say many game makers are comfortable giving you the most lean version of their games. We often see games carrying a lot of fluff, touting a lot of systems, praising their many features, hoping to instill us with some sense that they're packed full of cool and interesting stuff. I stumbled upon an article a few weeks back investigating the correlation between the amount of features present in a game and the review score associated with said game. Sadly, I couldn't dig it up, but the gist of it was very interesting. The author claimed, with some research to back it up, that the more features a game has, the higher the potential review score. Now, I'm not convinced on this 100%, but it may say something about our culture. It's about ticking all the boxes of our expectations as we've grown into a more is better culture. I think the greatest success with Cuphead was it said to hell with all of that. They could have easily just padded out this game, filling it with fluff and dumping a whole bunch of useless features on top of it. I have to believe that the makers of Cuphead knew that they had something special on their hands, which is why they didn't pander to the expectations of conventional video games. And part of that is the difficulty. It's no shame to say that Cuphead is one of the harder games in recent memory. If you're struggling with it, you're not alone. The game is extremely difficult. It's got this very relentless quality to it. Levels are fast, hard, and need to be replayed often. Defeat also has this very unceremonious abruptness to it. You die, you see your progress, it's almost taunting you, and then you jump right back into it within a few seconds. The adrenaline you get from almost getting through it often made me want to replay the stage in kind of a maniacal manner. I wasn't going to let this game beat me. Instantly, I smashed the replay stage button, and I was right back into the thick of it. It is such an addictive quality, a circle of defeat, triumph, and most importantly, payoff. One of the missing components to easier games is that there is often no mental payoff for progressing through the game. Since everything is pretty easy, there's no tension, and that is a necessary ingredient for the development of reaching a capstone in thrills. The threat of death is what keeps you on your toes as a gamer and makes your victories all the more sweet. And tension can take many forms, can't it? In story-driven games, it can find its roots in characters or love or moments of crises. You feel it in competitive games because you're facing off against other real human beings. Every genre has its own criteria for tension. In a 2D platformer like Cuphead, you get it from mechanical challenge. It's almost a word you hear exclusively when talking about classic games. You versus the game. It's just you and the controller, and you've got to figure out a way to get past the game, because it's the game as the obstacle that's creating the tension. You can target many things in Cuphead that may aid tension: the projectiles, the crazy attack patterns from the bosses, or, more importantly, how the game limits you via its controller scheme. Just like older games, Cuphead only has a few buttons: jump, shoot, dash, and super for the most part. You can parry as well, but still a very simple system. Straightforward controller schemes allow the game to transfer this concept of challenge from one of action to one of action plus reaction. And that's where Cuphead finds its greatest success. You might find it hard to jump and dash and shoot at the same time, but it's a restriction that Cuphead wants to make sure you're uncomfortable with. Nowadays, difficulty is usually tied to progression, which can itself be the antipode of challenge. This so-called challenge is more about how much time you sink into the game, rather than how good you are. Cuphead has a very offensive learning curve, no one's going to question that, but it's for good reason. Every single stage in Cuphead is difficult because they want you to get something out of it, that sense of triumph. Can you say that about any other game you've played recently? I know I can't. The first flying stage and the orange flower boss were probably the most problematic for me. I pretty much hit a brick wall, but man, you feel so fan-fucking-tastic when you beat these stages because you're conquering your own doubts. When a game can beat you, make you put the controller down, but then pick it up and say, "F this, man, I can do this," then that is one hell of an achievement. We all have the power to be pummeled into the ground, yet get back up and succeed. I know it sounds pretty corny, but challenging games like Cuphead offer some great life lessons for those willing to listen. One being discipline, patience, and the other, self-confidence. It's all tied to the difficulty. And I haven't even mentioned the journey through Cuphead yet. At the end of each stage, there's of course that yes moment, but then dread. If what's coming around the next corner is harder than what I just did, oh man, I'm gonna get my behind whooped. I'm just not sure I can do it. And that's the beauty of Cuphead. This act of getting knocked down over and over and over, but with the drive to come back better, stronger, and eventually victorious.
Bravo!
Cuphead knows just how to play with your optimal anxiety and push you just a little bit beyond the point of comfort. It's the sweet spot of being in a heightened state of mechanical and mental awareness to where your eyes, mind, and hands are truly in tune with one another. And when the smoke finally clears and you overcome all of those challenges, you exhale all of those endorphins, and it just makes you feel really, really good. I loved Cuphead. The challenge was overwhelming at times, or so I thought. But by rising to meet each new challenge, I grew to become a better player and to really appreciate what Cuphead has to offer. Great gameplay, amazing art, a good challenge, and a greater lesson. With enough determination, you can do anything. The best way I can describe Cuphead is that the makers of Dark Souls and Shadow of Colossus traveled back in time and designed a mashup of Mario 3, Gradius, and Contra? The overworld gives you kind of a similar feel to Mario games, yet nothing is numbered and you have to kind of find your way all over the map. Things are gated off, and beating levels unlocks more of the map to expand your options. Run and gun stages where you can earn limited coins to buy upgrades coexist with brutally difficult boss fights where it's up to you to learn the mechanics and to persevere. These boss fights are incredible, mixing scripted combat elements with RNG. Each phase in a boss fight has some randomness to it, which makes each attempt different enough to throw you off, thus emphasizing that reliance on mechanical proficiency. You'll eventually learn to overcome all the obstacles Cuphead throws at you and make your way throughout its amazing world. Slice it up however you want, Cuphead gives you an incredible experience if you're willing to work for it. Thanks for watching, everyone. Before I sign off, I want to extend my thank you for being a member of this community, and I do want to especially thank my hyper awesome tier patrons and above specifically. Fair warning, guys, I am absolutely terrible at pronouncing names, so this could get weird. Give Me Your Eyes, Der Specht, Gamble 101, Red Patron, Josh Baker, Jay Morrow, Lim Tech Chon, Daniel Sheely, aka Birdie, Cypher121, Billy Cat, Pandoras, Nigel Gucher, Will Paxton, Muhammad El Hadawi, Braden McDonnell, Jonathan Lovett, Jeff Robertson, Ilan Gonzalez Kurigi, Projects, Marak Gabrowski, Thor Bjorn Talseth, Eli Paolo, and a special thanks to our biggest patron and sponsor, Isaid Majid. Much love, guys. Peace, love, and happiness, and we'll see you in our next video, Saturday at 9 a.m. Pacific, and you guys have a great day.